Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into, well, a really fascinating constitutional clash in the Philippines.
Yes, it's got all the elements, separation of powers, legal procedure, political drama. We're focusing on the decision to archive the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte.
And specifically, the dissent, right? Why Senator Tito Sotto's arguments, even though they were in the minority, were actually a pretty strong defense of the Senate's role.
Exactly. Our mission here is to unpack that, why his stand was procedurally sound, even if most senators went the other way.
Okay, so let's set the stage. The Philippine Constitution has a specific setup for impeachment.
It does. It gives the House of Representatives the, quote, exclusive power to initiate. Think of them as the prosecutors, sort of.
And the Senate.
The Senate gets the sole power to try and decide. They act as the court in these cases. It's meant to be this unique political accountability process, mostly kept within Congress.
Got it. But then the Supreme Court stepped in. That's where things got complicated.
Very complicated. July 25th, 2025. The case is Duterte v. House. The Supreme Court drops a bombshell.
Declaring the articles of impeachment.
Null and void ab initio. Basically, invalid from the very beginning, as if they never happened.
Wow. And their reasoning.
Two main things. They said it violated the one-year bar. You can't bring more than one impeachment against the same official within a year.
Okay.
And, crucially, due process. They argued VP Duterte wasn't given a chance to respond before the House sent the articles to the Senate.
And the court said this ruling was immediately executory.
Yes. And that phrase became a huge sticking point. Because normally you wait for things to be final.
But hold on, wasn't there a motion for reconsideration?
Exactly. The House filed one on August 4th. And under Philippine law, a Supreme Court decision isn't technically final until that motion is resolved or the time to file it runs out.
So the decision wasn't actually final when the Senate acted?
Legally speaking, no, it wasn't final. That's a key piece of this.
Yet just 2 days later, August 6th, the Senate debates for hours and votes 19-4-1 to archive the case.
Right. Which brings us to Senator Sotto and the dissenters. They saw this as a major problem.
So what was Sotto's main argument? You mentioned 4 points.
Okay, first, prematurity. He argued the Senate was jumping the gun, acting on a Supreme Court ruling that wasn't final yet was, well, premature. They should have waited.
Makes sense. What was next?
Second, vested jurisdiction. This is interesting. He argued the Senate already had jurisdiction.
How?
Because back on June 10th, the Senate had formally convened as an impeachment court. The senators took their oaths as senator judges.
So it's like the court was already in session, officially.
Precisely. Soto's point was that's a real institutional act. You can't just undo it retroactively based on a non-final court order. The Senate, as an impeachment court, had taken hold of the case.
Okay, point 3 was stark. Archiving is dead.
Yeah, he didn't buy the idea that archiving was just putting it on pause. He saw it as functionally the same as dismissing it, killing the process, effectively.
And the last point, procedural integrity.
This was quite nuanced. He basically questioned how the Senate, acting as a legislative body in that vote, could dismiss a case that was technically before the Senate, acting as a judicial body, the impeachment court.
But mixing up their hats. Legislative versus judicial roles.
Kind of.
Yeah.
He saw it as a fundamental procedural breach. The legislative Senate was interfering with the business of the judicial impeachment court, even though it's the same people.
So what was the majority's thinking then? Why did 19 senators vote to archive?
Their argument was simpler, really, deference to the Supreme Court. The court said immediately executory and null and void ab initio.
So they took that literally. If the articles never legally existed, the Senate never got jurisdiction.
That seems to be the core of it. They saw it as upholding the rule of law and respecting the court as the final interpreter, even if the ruling wasn't technically final yet. Judicial supremacy, essentially.
It's fascinating how this split even top legal minds, right? UP law faculty versus the integrated bar.
Diametrically opposed. Which really underscores how complex this was. It wasn't a clear-cut issue, validating Soto's call for more caution, perhaps.
And it raises bigger questions, doesn't it, about precedent. Could this mean the Senate might step back from its sole power to try in the future if a court intervenes, even non-finally?
That's the concern, that it sets a precedent for maybe abdication of a core constitutional duty by deferring too early or too easily to the judiciary.
especially given Philippine history Estrada Corona, where the integrity of the impeachment process itself was so critical for, public trust and stability.
Absolutely. When the process feels flawed, it can really shake public confidence.
So Soto's stand was really about defending the Senate's specific role, procedure, and the idea that legal decisions need to be truly final before being acted upon.
Exactly. Not defiance, but procedural diligence and defending a constitutional mandate.
It leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? What does this whole episode tell you, the listener, about that tricky balance between respecting the courts and fulfilling your own constitutional job, especially when they seem to be pulling in opposite directions?
A very important question indeed.